I will also mention.
Sorry,
One thing I will also mention is that if there are any outside noises, it's because I'm sitting in the car,
sure, I can
as the
see it.
house where I'm staying has no internet connection. And so I'm sitting in the car and it's quite warm, so the window's open. So sorry if the passing traffic, whatever,
Yeah.
causes a problem.
Okay. I
But
mean, you can take a belt off if you want. Probably won't be a problem.
okay, great. Thank you. It's a fairly quiet street
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
And anyway, I just want to introduce Prabhu that every time I read your bio, just like throws me, blows me away because like you were initiated in 1972 by Srila Prabhupada himself, and that's like the early days, the early days in UK, and you were there right from the beginning, when the pioneers, and it's like the Western community, like yourselves, what Prabhupada empowered, but the Western community built this Iskcon. You built it, and we are the fortunate ones that we are now reaping the rewards of what Srila Prabhupada's disciples did at that time. You worked so hard to build where we are now, and 50 years later, 60 years later, where we are now, it's all thanks to yourself and others that contributed day and night to get where we are. So if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have this facility. So really grateful to you, Prabhu, and your associates from that time that you got us where we are, and we can also benefit from this. I mean, what have we done? We've done nothing. We've taken it for granted that it's already there. The whole infrastructure, everything's there, ready for us to use. And if we don't use it, then that's our misfortune. So Prabhu, yes, I mean, like I said, you've given your heart and soul to the mission last 50 years plus, and we thank you so much, and we thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom, your experiences, your knowledge that you have gained with us. And I'll let you continue from that, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Actually, it's all Srila Prabhupada is doing it, and we're just simply trying to assist him in his mission, because it's just like when you have a train, you have one engine, and although the other carriages are moving, they're all being pulled by the previous carriage, by the previous carriage, by the previous engine. And that engine is, without a doubt, Srila Prabhupada, who is pulling us closer to Krishna and giving us the chance to have a change of heart, which is the title of today's chapter, your devotional service, the change in heart. And actually, it's the chance to turn our lives around and give up this business of taking birth and death over and over again. So it's our good fortune to be able to discuss and hear what Srila Prabhupada is trying very hard to give us, and which he works so hard to give us. And our efforts in comparison with Srila Prabhupada's are infinitesimal, because Prabhupada actually, he started at the age of 70 in the West with nothing, except he was accompanying, as he put it, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and he came with firm faith in the order of his spiritual master, and he came with the desire to please his spiritual master. And this is actually very much the focus of this chapter. So shall we begin by having a little discussion?
Yes, please, Prabhu. Thank you.
Shall we just chant Jai Radha Madhava before we begin? Okay. And if you like to please join in, it'd be nice if we can hear you as well. Vijay, Radharani, Rati Prada, SMX 130, Paran Prakash Chaitanya, Kira Patel, Ajay Gauranga, Anjali Gosain, and Pundari Kaksha Prabhu. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Giribaradhari. I want to hear you.
Gopijana Vallabha Giravardhari
Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravardhari
Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Shodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Astothara Satashi Śrīmad Śrīla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sambhaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachadesha Tarine. Okay, so we are gathered together to discuss Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Sorry, Prabhu, we lost you there. Can you unmute yourself? That's fine.
Okay,
Thank you, Prabhu.
don't know what happened there. We're discussing pure devotional service, the change in heart, Canto 2, Chapter 3. So this chapter is very, very significant because actually this is what Lord Krishna is encouraging us to take up, pure devotional service, and change our hearts, because here we are stuck in the material world, taking birth after birth after birth. We keep doing it. We don't give it up. We keep desiring the fruits of our actions. We keep desiring to enjoy this world. And so Krishna gives us the opportunity to do it all over again, again and again and again, in whatever species of life we're destined to take by virtue of our um, developed mentality. So this is a very dangerous situation for us, because today or tomorrow, this moment or the next moment, we have to leave our bodies. We don't know which moment. And the principle is that actually we should prepare ourselves, and preparing ourselves means becoming eager to return home back to Krishna. So, with that aim in mind, one has to hear and carefully understand. For example, in chapter 20, text 20, we see Prabhupada explains everything very nicely in the first paragraph of this purport, which I'd like you to read, or you can read with me if you like, because it's very, very powerful. Because the idea is that in the verse it said, one who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of a snake, and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. Prabhupada actually goes into wonderful detail in this first paragraph. I've listened to Prabhupada's lecture on this many times, because actually this chapter Prabhupada lectured on quite extensively. And if we want to benefit by hearing directly from Prabhupada, it's worth accessing these lectures where these verses are being specifically discussed, as well as the purports. They're very, very powerful and sweet lectures. So Prabhupada explains here that devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs or parts of the body. It's not an armchair speculative process. It's actually a very active thing. It is the transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. So this needs to be our aspiration in order to change our heart, so that we're not still a few percent hanging on to the idea of enjoying in the material world. So one can engage in devotional service when the senses of the body are purified in relation with the Lord. And one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. As such, the senses and the action of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they're employed only in sense gratification. So in this world, everyone is engaged in sense gratification. That's why we took birth, to try to enjoy our senses. And that's what we've been doing ever since we took birth, even though inside the womb, as we learn from Lord Kapila, that actually the living entity has a very tough time. And actually, it's a really abominable situation to be inside the mother's womb, packed up for 9 months. And this is all beautifully described in the third canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by Lord Kapila. He's explaining all these things. And we can, at that point, take shelter of the Lord and remember, but then we come out of the mother's womb and we forget, which is a very sad state of affairs. And again, we carry on where we left off in our previous lives. The Lord reminds us, this is what you wanted to do. You go ahead and do it. So it's actually a very scary situation because we've developed this mentality of being enjoyers of the material world. But actually the senses have to be purified. And what is the process of purification? It begins essentially with the hearing process. And which is why we have Bhagavad-Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Association of Devotees, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these literatures to help us actually hear from Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada explains here, and one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. So we should utilize them, all the knowledge acquiring senses and all the active senses. As such, the senses and the action of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they are employed only in sense gratification. Sometimes people have different ideas about what it means to be materialistic, but actually materialistic means being attracted to enjoying matter. This is the meaning of materialistic. It's not about who's got the biggest car or house or keeping up with the Jones or the Patels. It's actually about becoming disinterested in matter and becoming interested in Krishna and our eternal loving relationship with Krishna. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification, but in the service of the Lord in toto, in full. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor, who is part and parcel of the Lord, also has the same senses. That's us. We have to recognize and try to identify ourselves as eternally servants of the Supreme Lord. This is how it means to change the heart. Service to the Lord is the completely purified use of the senses, as described in the Bhagavad-Gita. The Lord imparted instructions with full senses, and Arjuna received them with full senses, and thus there was a perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple, as foolishly claimed by some propaganda mongers. Everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. Because, we can have it coming in one ear and coming out of the other, but actually we have to submissively hear. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teaching of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses, so that one can logically understand the great mission. So it is actually a great mission, changing our heart, because it means turning everything around, turning around our inclination, which we've built up over countless billions of births, maybe countless days of Brahma, again and again and again taking birth in the material world when the universe is wound up and then again created by the Lord, and all the different dissolutions at the end of Brahma's day and at the end of Brahma's life. And when the two paradas of Brahma's life are finished, then the universe itself is all dissolved and entered back into the body of the Lord along with the living beings. And then we again get taken out and injected into the material nature to carry on from where we left off last time. So the process is as long-winded as we want it to be. So I don't know if I ever told you this story about the dentist. You know, the idea is the guy goes to the dentist and the dentist tells him you're going to have your tooth taken out and it's going to cost you £500. So the chap says, £500, but it's only going to take you a few moments. So the dentist says, well, I can do it slowly if you like. So the point I'm making is how slowly do we want to do it? And the sooner we actually agree to hear carefully and try to understand and apply this transcendental science in our lives and make real sense of it, then the better it will be for us, without a shadow of a doubt. So anyways, I'm hoping that we're going to have, because you've all studied this chapter in depth, and there's so much in this chapter, but I would really like this to turn into a question and answer session, because actually that way we can try to productively utilize this time. So thank you, Karen. So if anybody has any questions about this chapter or what you've read in it or what we're trying to understand here and about this change of heart, then fire away. I'm all ears. I'm hoping my ears aren't going to be like those of the snake holes. Does anyone have any questions, please? I hope you've got a few, because this is a very nice way to actually engage and discuss.
Okay. Can't seem to. I think people are having problem with the internet as well, I hear. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. We're okay.
I think the weather conditions aren't good. I don't know if that affects it. But
Yeah.
can I start off?
Sure, please do, Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we see you as well?
Oh yeah, of course. It's not a very pretty sight, but I'll definitely put something up.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, we're all sinners, and some are bigger sinners than others. However, how quickly can we be purified? Of course, it takes effort, time, attention, motivation, and intention. But given that, I believe Srila Prabhupada said it can happen instantaneously or it can take ages. Given the depth of Shastric wisdom that is available, because I believe a lot of the Vedas, a lot of Shastric knowledge was destroyed, we have sufficient information and knowledge, plus our own motivation to be inspired to become purified. Would that be true?
Yes. Actually, because the whole essence of the Vedic knowledge is Bhagavad-Gita, because Krishna himself is explaining that he himself is the compiler of the Veda and the Vedanta, and he knows the Veda as it is, and the whole point of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. So we have Bhagavad-Gita, where Krishna is personally giving us his messages and very nicely explained by Krishna's representative. And we have Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is further explaining and discussing the nature of the Supreme Lord and our relationship with him. and the nature of the mess that we've got ourselves into, actually, and how to get out of it. And the whole process is based on this hearing and chanting, especially primarily by hearing. And if we hear and get the message, then we can do something about it. And then what we do, just like Krishna tells Arjuna, that yes, now I've explained everything to you, now you do what you wish to do. But if we really got the message, then we do something about it. Is that okay, Kiran Prabhu?
That's absolutely fine. I mean, Ajmela was a mendicant who sinned. However, he was absolved of his sins by the Vishnuduta and the Yamadutas fighting for his soul. Would that indicate that even mendicants who transgress can be absolved? So we can be as well, even though we can sometimes commit some of the most heinous sins as well. Is that what Krishna is saying? If you become my devotee?
Krishna is saying that even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, but if you're properly engaged in devotional service, which means that you're not engaged in sinful activity, but you're actually engaged in serving and glorifying the Lord, then all your senses are engaged in that way. Then Krishna says, Sador eva samantavya. So that person is to be considered saintly. But it's not that as we learn that we can commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name and then be engaged in chanting the holy name and think that now we're absolved of all the sinful reactions. We actually have to turn our lives around, and because just like Ajamil, he was actually given the chance to see and recall his training in his earlier life. And when he did that, then he got really serious. And he went to Hardwar and spent the rest of his days engaged in devotional service to the Lord, rather than carrying on with his sinful life. So that was a serious wake-up call for Ajamil to give it up and stop being such a nonsense. So otherwise, if we carry on being a nonsense, then this is not surrender to the Lord. Surrender means I give it up. I stop being a nonsense and become a devotee with good sense. Is that all right, Prabhu?
Makes absolute sense. It's right. We give up the nonsense and give up those absurdities, and through devotional services, the leaves of sins fall off, and we become more attached to the divine.
Actually, we become attached to Krishna,
Mm.
and attached particularly to trying to serve Krishna and serve Krishna's devotee. Because, as is also made clear in this chapter, that without getting the blessings and the goodwill of the Lord's pure devotee, and hearing and touching the lotus feet of that devotee, then actually progress isn't going to happen. We have to get serious, because even though we may read so many things, as Prabhupada also explains in one of the later purports in this chapter, one actually has to take guidance and instruction from a pure devotee. What is required that one take initiation and get seriously involved in taking guidance from the Lord's devotee. And that way things will actually change.
Thank you. Makes absolute sense.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else want to offer any questions or suggestions or challenges or thoughts or complaints?
I think they want to hear from you, Prabhu. But anyway, I was going to say what the example you gave about the tooth. Yeah, it's a very nice example. And also Kesha Maharaj gives examples of similar of the plaster. You know, he says you can either remove a plaster like that, you know, quickly, or you can remove it slowly. You know, be more painful. Like this is the material life, for example. Like this is what you're saying. That material life. If when we have to give it up at the last moment of death, you know, this is the opposite to what you're saying actually. But so at the time of death, you have to give up everything just like that. It's very painful. Or if you give it up gradually, then it's like remove a plaster. And if you remove it nice and slowly, then it's not so painful. It's when it's peeled off, it's taken away from you, or you know, from the skin, then it's very, very painful. So if you just move it slowly, gradually we become detached from material life, then that works out better because you know it's less painful. You know, from the plaster example, it's the other way around. That you know, if you just try and pull something, time of death, there's a lot of pain. You know, this is one of the pains. When they say death is very painful, this is one of the pains because you are giving up everything that you built, everything you worked for, everything you love, and you're attached to. You're giving it up, and that you know, there's a lot of pain in the person who's attached to those things, and it so happens that whatever you're attached to, you'll come back to either enjoy those things or suffer, you know, those things as well. You know, if you're attached to females, then you come back as a female, as you know, the example is given. So yeah, you know, it's better to be detached or become detached slowly than to be taken away, everything taken away from you at time of death.
So the process of becoming attached is becoming detached is to become attached, because actually as living beings we can't be detached. We have to be attached to
That's
something.
something. Absolutely, yeah.
So actually it's a matter of transferring the attachment to Krishna.
Yeah.
Actually we have to transfer the attachment to become interested and eager to hear about Krishna, to chant Krishna's names, and to render service to Krishna. That means, for example, chanting the holy name. Prabhupada mentions, because there's this particular verse, where is it? Text 24. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. So actually we have to become actually attached to Krishna. And therefore chanting the holy name with concentration and hearing with concentration and understanding with all reason and senses and logic about what is actually our situation is key in this. And therefore the Bhagavatam, because it is a gradual process, the Bhagavatam gradually takes us through so that we can understand everything in great detail. We can try to jump to the 10th canto and try to discuss Krishna's pastimes, but without getting a very clear understanding of what is this world, what this world is about, and what life in this material world is all about, and what this material world is. This is all gradually being explained in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, so that we're left in no doubt, if we hear nicely, just what is the situation of this material world. Everything is being gradually, carefully explained and discussed so that we can see, yes, actually this makes real sense. And I need to apply my senses in the service of the Lord. So let me hear about him with great eagerness. Let me chant his names with great eagerness. Let me engage my senses in practical service to him with great eagerness, because this is the result of carefully hearing and imbibing the message. And I think we've discussed this point before. The idea is that it's not theoretical knowledge. The book knowledge is theoretical knowledge, but the practical thing is that we apply that and we understand it carefully ourselves. So in the first canto, first chapter, text 6, Prabhupada explains that Shravanam means hearing and Kirtanam means explaining. And only by hearing and explaining can we perfectly assimilate. So therefore it's the duty of the devotee to try to understand very carefully and to try to help others understand very carefully. Because by doing that, actually we assimilate this knowledge. So it's required that we hear and understand nicely and preach, teach, explain, call it what you will, but help others understand about Krishna, because this is called Kirtanam. And all these processes are based on this Shravanam and Kirtanam. And if we do this, then the assimilation takes place very nicely. And we become purified. And then our senses gradually become more and more attached to the service of Krishna.
So
it's a nice gradual process.
Yeah, wonderful. So everybody just want to, there's like this scenario of the tree. Two birds are sitting on the tree. One bird is eating the fruits. The other one is just watching and not interfering, right? The super soul, as the other bird, is not interfering. The bird, as in our soul, is enjoying the fruits, and the tree is the body of our body. The inside the body is the two birds, in other words. So this bird, i.e. our soul, is enjoying the fruit, and there's no guarantee that fruit is sour or sweet. It can be either. There's no guarantee that the fruit is going to be tasty. Sometimes it's tasty and sometimes it's not so tasty. But the super soul is with him all the time, whether he's taking a tasty fruit or a sour fruit, the super soul. So what is the super soul actually doing then? If super soul is there, is allowing him to taste the sour fruit and allowing to taste the sweet fruit. And the bird goes on, he's not even looking at the super soul or the other bird, and he goes on enjoying or suffering the fruit. So my question is, what does the super soul or the other bird do to help him? And also, when does the change in heart take place of the person who is just enjoying or suffering the fruit that he's eating?
Krishna in the heart, as the super soul, is giving us, as he explains in Bhagavad-Gita, matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. He's giving us the knowledge, how to try to enjoy our senses. He's giving us the remembrance, you wanted to do this. Now's your chance to do it. He's giving us the opportunity to forget also. But he's there waiting for us. He's giving us advice. Everyone has a conscience. Who is that conscience? That is Krishna. Krishna is giving us advice, and we can choose to listen to his advice or not. That don't do this because it will be a problem. Or do this and this will be good for you. But we don't tend to notice. But as we become devotees, gradually we can start to appreciate that actually Krishna is giving us good advice. And if we start taking that advice, because the spiritual master is the external representative of the super soul. So the super soul, he's always awaiting the opportunity to help us turn towards him. He's our dearmost friend, and he's giving us the opportunity ad infinitum to enjoy our senses in this material world. but at the same time, he's provided all sorts of external impetuses. Just take a look at what's happening in the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at any news bulletin, and you see how the world is really a tricky place. And we can experience sometimes calamities. Actually, because this material world is meant for calamities, as Queen Kunti personally points out, that actually this world is a place where calamities are inevitable. But we're thinking that if we can avoid the calamities, we're calling this happiness. But actually, we can't avoid the calamities, because can you avoid getting old? Can you avoid getting diseased? Can you avoid taking the steps to your coffin, feet first? You can't avoid it. And that's what about all the miseries inflicted by other living beings? What about the miseries inflicted by our own bodies and our own minds? And what about the miseries inflicted by the devas? Just like you're saying, how it's pouring with rain and it's too much, or it's baking hot with sun. These are natural disturbances created by the demigods. Don't forget Govardhan Leela. That was a serious climatic event, a serious weather event. And we learn from there that actually these things are controlled by the demigods. And even the movements of our bodies are controlled by the demigods. The power to eat, the power to digest food, the power to pass stool or urine, the power to breathe, the power to see or hear or smell, the power to move. Actually, these things can be withdrawn or disturbed at any moment. And sometimes they are. So if we have the good fortune of the favorable breeze of a useful human form of life, this can be utilized very nicely in the service of Krishna. And as we become conscious of Krishna's direction through the spiritual master, that actually he's the external representative of the super soul. So the super soul will give us what we want, but the spiritual master, his business is to help us understand what Krishna wants. And if we start engaging in that way, then we start being able to hear the messages of the super soul within our hearts.
Excellent. So in other words, you're saying that the super soul is not going to directly communicate. He's communicating with us through the spiritual master.
Through sadhu, shastra, and guru.
And guru, yeah.
And Prabhupada explains that it's not always that you have to take direct instruction from me, but you have to take direction from the Lord who's sitting in your own heart also. So we have to learn that what direction we're giving, not the ones that are coming from our own distorted minds, actually the Lord's instructions. If those instructions are in line with sadhu, shastra, and guru, we can understand, yes, this is Krishna helping me at every step of the way, and become conscious that Krishna is helping us at every step of the way. Just like the water coming out of the sky, we take for granted the water coming out of our taps, but then in so many places there's a drought. We take for granted the sunshine, and some places the sun is very overpowering, and sometimes we don't see, we get sad disease, seasonally affected disorder, becoming disturbed because there's no sunshine, or we get overpowered by the wind. But all these situations are controlled by the agency of the demigods, who are working to give us our karmic reactions under the direction of the Supreme Lord. So it's a matter of coming in tune with the Super Soul. if we can tune into that by hearing from Krishna's representatives, the sadhus, the shastras, and the guru, then actually these things are not different from Krishna. They're Krishna personally giving us his messages to help us understand and turn our hearts towards him. This is the simple fact of life. So, but that's up to us. Are we willing to hear what Krishna is trying to tell us? And when we become a little eager and interested to hear what Krishna is telling us, then we make progress, actually. We make progress and we develop our faith. Yes, Krishna, you are in my heart. Yes, Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Please help me be engaged in your loving service. Help me remember you, and help me not forget you. And Krishna is only too willing to reciprocate if our sincere desire is there. And then from within, as he explains, from me come knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness also. But then in the very same verse, he said, Vedaischa sarver ahameva vedya. By all the Vedas, I am what is to be known. I'm the compiler of Vedanta, and I know the Veda as it is. So we can take our choice. We can go on the path of experiencing and enjoying the material world with Krishna's help, or we can go on the path of turning towards Krishna with Krishna's help.
Excellent. Thank you, Sancho. Just quickly want to ask, these calamities that you mentioned, are calamities around the world, are they karmic reactions or balancing acts by the Lord?
They're karmic reactions. Actually, everybody's experiencing the karmic reactions, and that has to happen. Just like we see by Krishna's will, some little shaking of the earth causes so much upheaval. But that's Krishna's demonstrating, you think you're in control, but watch out for this huge, devastating flood. Watch out for this earthquake, which is going to smash all your nice buildings and take away your livelihood because you were thinking you could live without me. Just see that karmic reaction Krishna assembles, just like the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All the living beings were assembled in that way to execute the desire of the Lord, to wipe them out and finish them off the face of the earth. And in the process, take them back to Godhead.
Absolutely.
So we're not seeing how the material world is working, but Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is giving us the clue how this world is actually working. As Krishna is explaining, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam, this material nature is working under my direction. And as we become conscious of this, then actually the problems, the calamities, they become serious impetuses for remembering Krishna. And they become our friends, actually. Queen Kunti, she prays the calamities happen again and again because that way we see your lotus feet. So, yes, they're Krishna giving everyone their karma, and we may wonder how it is, but actually this material world is a very scientifically organized place. People are trying to deny Krishna's existence, but every single aspect of this material world is intelligently run. It's not happening by chance. It's not happening under the control of men. Men think they're the controllers, but actually everyone is under the control of the demigods who are under the control of the Supreme Lord. So seeing what is actually our situation is the impetus to have this change of heart.
Mm. It's good about to change your heart, right? Keep stick to this. Okay, so Prabhuji, Radharani want to ask a question. Anybody else wants to ask, please have them ready. But stick to the topic that we're discussing so that it will reinforce this chapter for us. We don't want to go off tangent and start discussing that I can't chant properly. Prabhu help me with that. Just stick to the topic that we are doing and let's reinforce this topic today. Prabhuji is here.
And I just mentioned this beautiful verse, text 17. This is our daily experience. Ayo harati vaipum sam udyanastan chayanaso tasyate yakshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead.
That's very interesting.
We're all seeing the sun rising and setting every day. Just another sunrise, just another sunset. But this is stealing away our duration of life. But by utilizing this, actually, we're not going to die. We're going to live forever, engage in loving service to Krishna, in spite of all the changes and even the change of body. Because actually, we're all eternally Krishna's servants. So next time you see the sunrise and set, see this verse, how it's Krishna's arrangement to take away our duration of life. And then we have to, at the end, come back and do it again. It's a whole scientific process, and getting the full picture is really what the whole Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like we say, that, we keep coming back, whether it's in animal body or a human body, but work we must do. We have to serve, right? We cannot get away from that fact that we have to serve. Whether we're serving Maya or we can serve Krishna, we have to serve someone. In fact, if you go towards Krishna, if you take one step to Krishna, you'll take 10 steps. If you take one step to Maya, Maya will take 100 steps towards you. So Maya is very keen to have your service, to have server. Maya is very keen, she's a very good employer. She's always recruiting. She wants to recruit people. But we better off being recruited by Krishna. And serve we must. We can serve Krishna or Maya, serve our, whatever our senses, we can do. But we better to be employed by Krishna and work under his direction. Absolutely.
Maya is a very good devotee.
Yeah, well, if you want to be devotee, then it may even help you. But, what do you want? That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, the thing is that Maya and the spiritual master, the Shastras, they're all on the same team. But their approach is very different.
Different, yeah.
Maya's approach is to kick us and say, you don't want to surrender to Krishna? All right, I'll kick you.
Yeah, teach you
You
lesson.
still don't want to surrender to Krishna? All right, I'll kick you some more. Yeah. And the devotees are saying, please, chant Hare Krishna. Become blissfully engaged in Krishna's service.
Very good point.
Actually, it's the same team, but the approach is rather different. One is the carrot and the other is the stick.
Yeah, a good way. Yeah, absolutely. Take your pick. It's like Krishna, they say, when he's calling the cows, he will call them by name or he will blow his bugle, but eventually he will get his stick. The ones that don't listen to him, then he will use the stick. So, the choice is there. We can, we have the free will to choose. We want to choose the carrot or the stick, right? Radharani?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to, my humble obeisances, please accept, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to ask you that, sometimes we've seen that people, they're suffering, there's so much suffering in their lives, and suddenly what you see that it just goes away. So how does the quick change happens in their lives? Is it something to do with their karma or something which has changed their heart? that Krishna has acknowledged, or that you just don't understand. One minute they were suffering so badly, and the next minute or next day you think that have seen that their situation has changed just like that. So how does that happen?
Well, the karma is there, and when the effects of that particular reaction are worn off, then the good karma, the bad karma, the mixed is always changing, because the reactions are always, because we're acting in different ways. And sometimes the reactions are coming from this life, they're coming from the previous life or from previous lives. And it's like when you plant a seed of a tree, you plant a seed of a mango tree. It isn't that the tree immediately grows and produces its fruits and flowers. It takes time. And when the reactions are mature, then one experiences them. And sometimes we can have impending understanding that, as the song goes, there may be trouble ahead. And there will be. Actually, the reactions are always going on. And sometimes, just like even in the womb, although the suffering is impossible, somehow or other the living entity is given the power to tolerate that impossible suffering. But the reactions are definitely happening. After, sometimes they're mixed. Sometimes something may be extremely good, but it's mixed with something extremely bad. As they say, every silver lining has a cloud, or every cloud has a silver lining. But the fact of the matter is that the reactions are inevitably taking place. So we should understand that karma is going on. But for a devotee, as Krishna is explaining, ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So depending on our level or degree of surrender or non-surrender, we can expect difficulties. But as we become more advanced in devotional service, we can see that those difficulties are an impetus to advance in devotional service. Whereas someone who's not a devotee can understand that I'm just suffering and this is horrible and it's all somebody else's fault, without accepting that actually it's my own reactions. So this material world is constantly changing. Everything's in flux. You may see on your own life that how the situations have changed. And at one point we had a baby's body, but that's changed. Then we've got a child's body, and that's changed. And then we got a youthful body, and everything has changed. And then we got a mature body, and everything has changed. And then we've got a gradually middle-aged body, and everything has changed. The whole world is constantly changing because it's a combination of the three modes of nature, and the three modes of nature are always in competition with each other. And sometimes we're in goodness, sometimes we're in passion, sometimes predominantly in ignorance. But the influence of the three modes is inescapable unless we take shelter of Krishna. And Krishna explains that if we take shelter of him, then the whole plate is very different. Krishna's promised that if someone takes shelter of him, then actually he gives them protection from their karma, and they becomes actually under the direct protection of Krishna, depending on the level of degree in which we surrender to him. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. So we should know that this material world is a product, and this is actually simply as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj puts it, it is simply the frenzied dance of the three modes of material nature. That's what's going on in this world. And we're experiencing everything. I hope that makes some sense, Radharani Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, another thing on the vice versa, for example, there's characters like Shishupal all over the world. We see them in the news headlines, and we see them in the community as well sometimes. And you just wonder that how much good karma is still in their kitty, that Krishna is still forgiving them, and how they're still carrying on. So how does that work? Doesn't their bad karma come to a point where Krishna starts teaching them lessons, or how does it go about in the world?
Well, the point is, all the karmic reactions are encouraging the living being to try to evade the karma and try to enjoy the material world. But only when the living being gets some good intelligence by the association of the Lord's devotee does he start to understand, wait a minute, what's actually going on here is I'm suffering in the material world, and I don't want to suffer, and I need to understand what life is actually all about. So only when one gets good intelligence by the association of the Lord's devotee does it actually start to change. And this is why these literatures are being widely promoted around the world, so people can get some not artificial intelligence, but RI, real intelligence, so that we can start to understand what's actually happening in this world. What's happening to me is that I'm suffering in the material world, and I don't want to suffer. And the reason is because I'm a forgetful soul of my eternal relationship with Krishna. So by the association of the Lord's devotees, we get the chance to begin to understand and progress on the path of understanding and engaging in our eternal relationship of serving, loving service to Krishna. But otherwise, it doesn't change. Without that association of the Lord's devotee, it's just going round and round and round in circles in this material world. And sometimes the good, sometimes the bad, sometimes the ugly, and it doesn't change. It's just continually going on, birth after birth, life after life, kalpa after kalpa. So it's actually, this is the essential point. One has to hear from Krishna's devotee. Otherwise, there's no change. Only just the frenzied dance of the three modes of nature.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for such a lovely explanation.
So, Prabhuji, are you driving now? You're driving?
No, I'm sitting behind the wheel of the car.
All right, that's
really
fine. Yeah, as long as you're stationary, that's okay. So, I would like some other people to ask Pundikaksh Prabhu. You have any questions? Vijay Prabhu, Ajay Prabhu, Pundikaksh Prabhu, you're there. Please ask.
Haribol Prabhu, very nice class. Chandra Pranam. Actually, Prabhu, I am doing some work, but I am listening, so I will just listen. And it has been wonderful realization the way Prabhu is telling the things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, how do you see your life going?
Prabhu, as far as life is going very smoothly by Krishna's mercy. And we have been, me and my wife both are initiated, and we try to do full-time devotional service to the Lord.
Okay, good, good, very nice. Yes. So this service is based on hearing and chanting, hearing and explaining, actually.
Yeah.
So whenever you can, please try to help others understand about Krishna.
We take Prabhu Bhagavatam class as well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We also take the Bhagavatam classes. We started with our relatives first.
Okay, good, good, yes. And don't forget that actually Prabhupada, he came to the West to try to help the Westerners understand. And actually it's very difficult a lot of the time getting people from Indian culture to understand. Because a lot of times, as you must have experienced, you get the response, yes, yes, I am knowing these things.
No, Guru, we don't do anything. We just try to do some service for the Lord, for the Guru. I am a doctor, actually. I try to preach in the hospital, bring the nurses towards the spirituality. I don't talk with them regarding religion. I talk about the spirituality, whether they are Muslims or Hindus or Christians.
Okay. Whatever level we can reach out to people.
What did you say, Prabhu?
Whatever level on which we can reach out to people. This is the thing. And if we can understand, because, you know, in the whole process of spiritual life only makes sense if we understand that I'm not this material body, I'm a spirit soul.
Yeah.
Without that understanding, there's no question of spiritual life.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So this is our, you know, starting point. And if someone can understand practically that I'm not the body, that I'm a spirit soul, and I'm always going to be engaged in some activity, then as a spiritual living being, what am I supposed to do? What activity is that for a spirit soul? And that is in service to the Lord. So it begins with understanding the difference between the body and the soul and starting to identify that I'm a spirit soul. And what am I? I'm eternal servant of the Supreme Spirit. And that is the beginning of spiritual life.
So whenever I am in the hospital, if someone is sitting depressed, sometimes staffs are sitting depressed, so I go to them and talk to them why you are feeling depressed. Sometimes 2, 3, I have been able to connect 671 to the Krishna consciousness. So one time they told we are not having any purpose in the life. Then we talk about the soul philosophy. I gave them books, and I also send them the mantra on the WhatsApp. They listen it. Gradually they keep coming, and in this way I try to connect them.
Yes, because people have no clue what the purpose of their life actually is. And that's where, out of compassion, we can try to help people understand, actually, there is a purpose to your life. There is a purpose to my life. And the purpose of my human form of life is to give me a chance to connect in loving service to Krishna and have a change of heart and turn my life around. If we discover that purpose, then what is the question of not having a purpose in life? Actually, this is the real thing. So thank you, Prabhu.
It has been a privilege, Prabhu, to hear you being the disciple of Srila Prabhupada. It's always a privilege to hear. I always get inspiration from you, the way you talk and you explain the things.
Hare Krishna. I'm simply trying to represent the messages that Srila Prabhupada is so kindly giving us. And if I do that nicely, then hopefully it will have some good effect, not just on anyone who hears me, but a good effect on me. Hare Krishna.
Therefore, you are a liberated soul. We are trying to just chant now.
Thank you so much,
so yeah. Some other question, comment?
Pundikakshu Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for explaining all these points so nicely. I mean, definitely I see a coincidence in whatever happened in a day. And that's where I feel like Krishna is definitely giving a message, as you said, like through devotees, through classes, through sadhu, guru, sadhus, everywhere. So before in the afternoon today, one Mataji called, like, who used to chant with us from India. And she asked about karma and whatever activities happening in her life. She just shared and asked, is it all because of my karmic reactions? And then before this class, we were listening to Canto 10, Chapter 2 in other group discussion, where Vasudeva is preaching to Kamsa, and he is telling that you're going to die, and then again you're going to get a body. Why you are engaging in such an act? And so I feel like it's nice a continuation, and then you started with the same like birth and death again and again. And definitely there is a message today for me. There's something, maybe in another 2 hours also, if I listen something, maybe something else also crop up. That's what I feel. The 2 points out of many points you mentioned, 2 really struck me. One is, we remember when we are in the womb, but we forget as soon as we come out. That is really strange. So even though it's so painful, we don't remember even a bit of pain after coming out. And that's one thing. And again, you said exchange happens when reception is submissive. I really felt touching with that one. So when you become submissive, then only you become receptive to any information. Without that, information will just go into one ear and come out from the other ear. That's nice point, Prabhuji. Yeah, that's all actually I take it from this session today.
Thanks so much.
So interestingly enough, that while we're inside the womb, the Lord Kapila explains that the sincere soul can remember his previous 100 births. And he can understand, now I've been put in this situation again by the Lord. And actually prays that not to come out of the womb and fall into Maya again. But we can also see that when he comes out of the womb, we forget everything. And then it's goo goo gaga, aren't you a sweet little baby? And, you know, and the whole life is built on just trying to be the Lord and the enjoyer. But it's only when one gets the association of the Lord's devotees that one can start to remember one's spiritual culture and start to again waken that desire that, please let me become engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So the association of the Lord's devotees is the essential principle for actually reviving our Krishna consciousness. This is the simple fact of life. Without that association, the living being is lost. This is the fact.
Sure. That's nice. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Tribhangananda Prabhu. So, would you say that the super soul sends the spiritual master to you, from what we were speaking about earlier?
Guru.
If the living entity is actually eager to understand the suffering of this material world and why am I suffering, then Krishna gives him the chance to associate with a spiritual master.
Yeah, it fits all nicely together, bro. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if we're not interested, then even we, by the grace of the Lord's devotee, we come across by chance the Lord's devotees, but actually the mercy of the devotees is they try to spread the Sankirtan movement and drown everyone in the chance to even unwillingly hear the messages of Krishna, hear the holy name of Krishna, or taste some prasadam, or take a book. That is the mercy of the devotee. Actually, that is the causeless mercy of the devotee. It's not a result of karma. It's the result of the causeless mercy of the Lord's devotees. And by that association, if one becomes fortunate to become a little interested, to want to take up and proceed some way further, that is actually due to the causeless mercy of having the association of the Lord's devotee. And Krishna can arrange that one gets that association. If the sincere desire is there and the sinful reactions are not impeding one from keeping that association of devotees. But even if one is completely sinful, somehow or other, if he gets the association of devotees, then things can turn around if he's sincere. Just like Krishna is expressing that actually those who are impious, they never surrender to me. And those who are, duskritina in so many ways, But Prabhupada is explaining in his purport to Bhagavad-Gita that even if someone is a good soul or a bad soul, somehow or other, if he becomes sincerely attracted to the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he can change. But without that association, there's no possibility of changing. Simply continuing in the world of karma.
Yeah, but the association is not a coincidence. That's the point. It's not a coincidence. It happens because either you have some sukriti, or you have some desire in this life to understand life. What is actually, why am I here, right?
But actually, even if you have sukriti or duskriti, that's not the trick for getting the association of a devotee. That's the causeless mercy of the Lord's devotee. Because the sukriti and the duskriti doesn't qualify one for, it's no qualification for getting devotional service, because devotional service has no cause. It's not due to any material cause. It's due to the compassion and kindness of the Lord's devotees. Because the Lord himself feels compassion for the living beings, the devotees also feel compassion that how to help these living beings come out of their suffering condition. So Krishna feels compassion, Radharani feels compassion, as we saw in one of the purports, that Radharani is the tender-hearted feminine counterpart of the Lord. And because of her compassion, she brings the other devotees closer to Krishna. And the devotees, they also try to bring the other living beings closer to Krishna. This is actually just like one time, Prabhupada was talking with some devotees, and one of them said to Prabhupada, sometimes I feel real compassion for the suffering of the living entities. And Prabhupada, he said, why only sometimes? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So out of compassion, vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhu bhevacha, that actually we can't take devotional service or the association of devotees for granted. It's actually causeless. And that compassion is something we need to develop within ourselves. How to help others come out of this cycle of birth and death and this suffering of the threefold miseries. Actually, this is what the whole Krishna consciousness movement, this is what Lord Chaitanya's movement is all about.
Jiva Daya.
Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Giving everyone the chance to have a change of heart.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Just want to see if anybody else want to ask a question. Vijay Prabhu, Ajay Prabhu, and then we can. And now you have to go all the way to Leicester, right after this.
Well, I've still got some work to do tonight before I can head back to Leicester.
Oh, Krishna!
I've still got to.
So you're coming to Shropshire,
change the bathroom fan, paint the skirting boards, pack up all my stuff, and then I can head to Leicester.
Then go to Leicester.
But I wanted to make sure I came for this program tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So quickly, Ajay, Vijay Prabhu, and if you have anything to add or ask a question, please do.
Okay. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Okay, so this chapter is about trying to get towards pure devotional service. Now I was thinking, obviously, like I thought about myself, I'm trying to advance in my devotional service. I mean, maybe by mercy of Guru and Guranga, maybe one day I might even get somewhere close to pure devotional service. Then I thought of yourself and how you've, when I think of you in particular, I think of all the services you do at Rath Yatra. You go all around the country serving Shri Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. So I wanted to ask, how did you get into this particular service, and are there any particular prayers or any pastimes you think about when you're doing this particular service?
Well, the one I mean, so many pastimes. Krishna has unlimited pastimes. I mean, particularly myself, I was initiated at Rath Yatra, so I could understand that, as Prabhupada explains, that anyone who takes part in any way in Rath Yatra is actually taking part in the Lord's pastime. That's the simple fact of life. So, somehow or other, Lord Jagannath got me from the very beginning. And I became engaged in different ways, trying to put on festivals and trying to resurrect the Rath Yatra cart to make sure it's all good for the Rath Yatra festival. That was in the early days at Bhaktivedanta Manor in 1973 when Prabhupada came. I was asked to, by again, the causeless mercy, I was asked to make sure that the Rath Yatra chariot was ready for the procession. I hadn't the foggiest idea how to do it, but somehow or other, I was asked to do it. I was still, just very green around the gills, and I still am. But practically speaking, somehow or other, Lord Jagannath gave me some causeless mercy. And thinking of Lord Chaitanya dancing at Rath Yatra, and I was reading the other day how, because it was Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, and Rupa Goswami, he could understand Lord Chaitanya's mind. When Lord Chaitanya was singing a verse at the Rath Yatra, no one practically could understand what he was singing about. Now again, I have regained the Lord of my life, because he's in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And Rupa Goswami, when he heard this verse sung by Lord Chaitanya, he immediately composed another verse describing the meaning of the original verse. And Lord Chaitanya happened to find this because Rupa Goswami had written it down and put it on the roof of his thatched hut where he was staying, and went to take a bath in the sea. And Lord Chaitanya came to meet him. He would come and see Haridas Thakur and Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis every day. That was his regular pastime. And when he came to Rupa Goswami's house, he found this verse on the roof of Rupa Goswami's hut. And he was shocked. How could he understand my mind? And so it became clear when he discussed this with Swarup Damodar Goswami, his personal secretary, that how is it possible he could understand my mind? And Swarup Damodar said, it's only because you've bestowed your causeless mercy upon him. And that's enabling him to fully understand. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, when I saw his beautiful attitude of devotional service, I bestowed all my blessings upon him in so many ways and empowered him. And I think you, Swarup Damodar, can now explain and describe so many things more in detail about devotional service to Rupa Goswami. So when you see Rupa Goswami, his Nectar of Devotion, such an important book, such an essential book, and you see how he's writing in the beginning, he's there in Vrindavan, right? And writing these verses and writing these books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Upadeshamrita and so many books. And his mood he describes in the beginning, in the introduction to this book that he's writing, that he's simply trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Here he is in Vrindavan writing on palm leaves. Lord Chaitanya's movement, Lord Chaitanya has come. The Sankirtan movement has barely begun. But he's got this vision that by writing these books, he's simply trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. How is that? Because this is Lord Chaitanya's mission. And this is the mission of everyone. And if we can become involved in really trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, then actually we are engaging in connection with Lord Chaitanya. So part of my service is also with the Gita project, distributing Prabhupada's books to hotels and hospitals and prisons and care homes and schools and libraries. That's part of what I do. But also daily, I'm sharing Prabhupada's books, small excerpts, bite-sized chunks serially, with 8 different books or more, to about 4,000 people every day. Because actually this is Rupa Goswami's mission, and we're trying to be Rupanugas, followers in the line of Rupa Goswami, of trying to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So when I engage in these services, I'm seeing how actually Lord Chaitanya is benedicting the whole world. Lord Jagannath is benedicting the whole world. And that people who see the festival, who see the deities, even see the chakra on top of the chariot, or who stand up in front of or behind the chariot, they're actually getting connected to the Lord. So these things, when I read from Prabhupada's books every day, when I'm sending out these messages, it inspires my heart. And I'm very grateful to have the chance to do something to try to serve the mission of my spiritual master. So all these pastimes are very, very beautiful. And by hearing and becoming inspired by them, I'm hoping my wicked heart will change. I'll become a devotee one day. So yeah, these things are very nice. We're getting a chance to change things around somehow by Prabhupada's kindness. Is that all right, Prabhu?
No, thank you, Prabhu. It's very nice. Yeah, I'm very fond of Lord Jagannath and very grateful to Srila Rupa Goswami as well, because yeah, like even when I was just doing Bhakti Shastri, I was like then you realize that we are like Rupa Nugas, we are really following in his footsteps. So, and I'm trying to improve my devotional service, but I think just listening to you, maybe I've got some hints now, maybe some things I could improve on. So thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you very
Krishna.
much, Prabhuji. Please pray for me that I can become actually nicely engaged in pure devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you're being too humble. I mean, it's they say like with the pure devotees, don't realize how great they are. They think themselves as ordinary human beings. So we should be asking for your prayers for us, really.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, he never accepted being accused of being a pure devotee. That's the fact. He always said, no, I'm actually trying to be the servant of a devotee.
Yeah, it's a very good mood to have, Prabhu. I think it's a very good mood. And it helps to connect as well. It connects with poor souls like us. You know, like Uttam Adhikari has to come to Madhyam Adhikari, you know, so they can connect. So, yeah, we appreciate that, you know, you are doing these wonderful services and giving us the opportunity to learn from you as well. And what we learn, you know, we are small twigs of the branch of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. We want to spread and help, you know, even you can help capacity of a spider. You know, we're happy to do that, and we pray that Krishna, Lord Srila Prabhupada empowers us to help more and more people. And, you know, I hope it rubs off from yourself so we can say that we help so many people. So, yeah, it's, you know, very inspiring. Thank you so much. And I think we're gonna stop here because it's 9:15, and as you mentioned, you have so many other things to catch up.
I'll just mention one thing.
Sure.
We can actually pray to get some inspiration to do some service, but also that's based on perspiration. We have to try
inspiration
to
and perspiration
in the service,
yeah,
and automatically more inspiration will come.
Yes.
If we try to act according to the guidance of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So it's Yeah, some inspiration, but plenty of perspiration.
Not so perspiration. And gallons of blood as well.
Yeah.
No pains. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So if you can all unmute and let's give 3 Haribols to Prabhuji. So 1, 2, 3. Haribol.
Jai Jagannath.
Jai
Jai Prabhupada.
Jai
Jai
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
jai.
His Grace
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
Prabhu ki jai.
Hari Hari.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And we'll
Thank
catch up with
you.
you soon. I saw you, just a little clip of you in the Reading, the recent one, the Reading Rath Yatra as well. You were there. I think that's one of the recent. Are you going to Basingstoke as well?
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Southall.
amazing.
Basingstoke on Saturday and Southall on
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah. Is Southall is not Iskcon, right? Is that Iskcon?
Well, it's actually done from the Ram Mandir, but actually Lord Jagannath is there. Parshuram's chariot is there.
Yeah.
So actually, whatever it is, they're all part of Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra.
Excellent. Excellent. That's
They
wonderful.
may think we're part of their program, but they may not realize that actually they're part of Lord Jagannath's program.
Yeah, biggest scheme of things. Absolutely right. Excellent. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari
Hare
Bol.
Bol.
Jai. Thank you.
Okay. So let us simply say, Vansha
Kalpatarusha,
Kalpatarusha,
Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitana Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Namaha. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Hari Bol.
Jagannath Hriday Subhadra ki jai.
Jai. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you all. We'll catch up on Friday. Hari Hari Bol.
Okay.